So along this, we start to talk about participation in the CRS, and participation in the NFIP allows some benefits to our residents. These are in the forms of grants, assistance, etc. One of the big things is participation in the NFIP, beneficial participation in the CRS allows people emergency assistance in the form of money, loans, etc. Participation, and I don't know that we mentioned that before, but participation in the NFIP is voluntary. Your community does not have to participate in the NFIP. In my jurisdiction, there's Hillsborough County, there's the City of Tampa, City of Temple Terrace, City of Plant City. The City of Plant City does not participate in the NFIP. They said years ago, hey, we don't have a lot of homes in the special flood hazard area. We have a limited staff. We can't afford to have a floodplain administrator. We don't want to participate in that. They're free to do so. The flip side is if something ever happens and this massive flood comes through and affects half their community, they're going to be limited on what they can get for federal assistance, if any, and they're going to be limited on programs like this. We're going to talk about 2 or 3 different programs like this that are based on your participation to benefit the residents. This is the HMGP, Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. This would be after a federal disaster declaration, and you must have an approved mitigation plan. Well, if you're not in the NFIP, you may not even have an approved mitigation plan. So right there, when people go to apply, they're like, wait, your community's not in the NFIP, you don't have a mitigation plan, we're not even going to take your application. The projects are 75% federal, 25% non-federal monies, and they can be used for elevation, acquisition, retrofitting, and minor flood control eligible products. Does everybody know what acquisition is? Acquisition is when a community says, hey, this property, this home, this building has been problematic for a long time. It floods every year. It's going to be easier just to buy it, take it over, knock it down, and turn it into a park. And everybody's like, wow, that's a great idea. That's so easy. We're going to do that. Several things happen when you do that. The one, all of a sudden, somebody's property is worth more than you ever thought it would be. So that property that's been flooding out every year that on the books is worth 50 grand, when you approach the homeowner, they're like, oh, it's worth at least $150,000, $200,000. So then you negotiate for that. So then you buy it from them, you pay to knock it down and everything. And then everybody says, well, you can just make it into a park. Well, parks cost money because somebody has to maintain it. Then there has to be restroom facilities. Then you have to carry insurance in case somebody gets hurt there. Above and beyond, what do you lose when somebody no longer lives on a piece of property?
Taxes.
Taxes. You no longer collect property taxes from that piece of property. And sure, it may only have been $1,000 or $1,500, but you do that 10, 20, 30 times, all of a sudden the community is now out $40,000 or $50,000 a year in property taxes. That's the salary of one staff member. If I'm paying somebody 40 or 50 grand a year, that's one person now that no longer has a job. So while acquisition seems like an easy way to solve a problem, I'll just buy it, knock it down, and we don't have to worry about it flooding, we now lose that money coming in. Right now in Hillsborough County, I think out of all our properties, 38% are in the special flood hazard area. Can you imagine if I just reduced my tax base by 38%? If I said, I'm going to buy everybody's property and turn it into parks. I never have to worry about this stuff again. I'd have to be a millionaire to be able to afford that in the county to go buy all these parcels, because many of them are near the river or near the beach, which are top dollar, and then to give up all the tax value of that. That would be pretty onerous, pretty arduous to do, because that's what people don't think about, that I'm losing that tax base. FMA, Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, applies to NFIP insured structures. Planning grants support risk assessment and development of flood mitigation plans. Grants are for elevation, demolition, relocation, or acquisition. Technical assistance grants for states and communities to develop FMA applications and implement projects. Finally, our Severe Repetitive Loss Program, the SRLs. Residential properties with severe repeat losses. Those are the ones that every time there's a flood, they have damage. Those are the ones you're trying to work with to get something done, because every time it floods, these people are underwater, literally, no pun intended. And the way we calculate that, the way we delineate what those are, 4 more claims that each exceed $5,000 with at least 2 in a 10-year period. And once again, these are those numbers you have to remember. There's no way to have them written down anywhere. 4 more claims, each is greater than $5,000, and at least 2 of them are in a 10-year period, or 2 or more claims that added together exceed the value of the building. Value of the building, not the property. Doesn't count the land, it's just the value of the building.
So not necessarily that you got to pay $250 on each claim. Is you got to pay $100,000 in one time and $150. So therefore,
correct. It doesn't have to be the same amount. Just as long as all the claims, as long as each claim exceeded $5,000, and 2 of them were in 10 years, or 2 of them exceed the value of the building. And we have a pretty good repetitive loss list in Hillsborough County. I say pretty good. There's probably 100, 150 homes, I think. And those are the ones that you're trying to get with the people to participate in, and I'll come back, but try to participate in some of these. Hey, let's get the ball rolling on some of these grant programs. You know, the problem is with some of these programs is they're time constrained, or I should say not constrained, they eat up a lot of time. You know, people want to say, oh yeah, I'll gladly do that. So if I apply today, well, when will I get the money? 30, 40 days? No. It's federal government.
2 years.
Yeah, this could take 6 months, year and a half. We have one that the guy's on his 2nd year now. He's trying to elevate his house, and he submitted all these different things, you know, and then of course, the state comes back and FEMA comes back and says, okay, well, we'll pay for this, we'll pay for that. You know, it's not a total free ride. You don't just get to submit some forms and get $200,000. And he's like, well, they're only wanting to give me 135 and I need 160. I'm like, oh, they're giving you 135. I mean, you know, what do you want? But he's like, no, I need, and the option is you can resubmit and try to get more. But each time he's having to resubmit, get an engineer to redesign something, talk about how he's going to do this, how it's going to be more protected, you know. So the idea is at least getting people moving towards some kind of compliance so they don't just keep collecting on insurance claims. Because that's what's killing the NFIP.
That's what we preach to.
Yeah. You know, when you have people who go, well, you know what, I'm not really going to do anything. They just give me a check for $25,000 every year when I flood. Well, I know, but that's hurting all the rest of us. You know, and every year they just say, well, I just go get new carpeting and I cut out the last 3 feet of drywall and repair it. I know, but that's what we're trying to avoid.
So what would happen if they have 5 claims of over $5,000? They get removed,
Well, that becomes a severe repetitive loss.
and then they.
Nothing other than back to back.
Well, no, then they're in that
They're
program.
eligible for that.
Yeah, they're eligible for that. I mean, if they had a private carrier, they might try to say, hey, you're no longer covered. But the idea is when they've reached
There's a lot
that
of people
threshold.
line for the grant money, and these are the people that qualify first.
Yeah, so when they've reached that threshold, we can say, hey, your house is obviously a problem because you flood every other year. Monetarily, you've crossed all of these thresholds. You qualify for these other things, so come on in. Let's get the paperwork rolling. So see if you qualify for the HMGP, the FMA, whatever one of those grants, maybe even a low interest loan, but let's get the ball rolling.
This guy's premium could be $30,000. That's why he's scrambling.
Because
It's doubling on him every 3 years now.
especially now with the changes, because for the longest time it's like, hey, I'm still paying $600-700 a year. What do I care? But now all of a
It's
sudden,
no longer subsidized.
yeah, and he's like, wow, I'm gonna have to pay $30,000 a year. Now I can document that I may qualify for one of those other options of elevating or rebuilding my home.
Okay.
The first thing they do is call us and go, hey, are you gonna buy my house? No, we're not gonna buy your house. That's the very first question. And that is it.